Afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to another Clubs and Corks golf podcast. I'm Luke Taylor. I'm struggling today.
I see that.
We got Bernice. Thank you for bringing Bernice
today.
I know.
I almost left without it, but
I know. Ben Curtis.
How you doing?
Pocket wave.
Yeah, gotta do my wave.
We got a really fun guest today.
Yeah.
My uncle highly recommends him, which is good. His company doing a little bit something different. Since you are not, it looks like, going to be playing in the British Open next year.
No, probably not.
And you're probably going to go, but not invite me. That stare, okay. We're supposed to be a team here.
I didn't know I was supposed to say something.
Well, no, it's just like, you and your wife are a team, and I feel like you and I are a team for the podcast. Obviously not, but you know.
Oh well, I'm not going. So
you're not gonna go to the British Open 150 years.
I don't think so.
Can I go for you?
No.
Okay. So I figure next?
Ben, I would love to go for you just to go to the Champions Dinner in St. Andrews.
I know.
Yeah, that is special.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think
it's not out of the question. Yeah,
I'll work on his wife, Candace. Yeah. But before I introduce this guy, I want this fine gentleman. I want to say congratulations. The day after, or actually the night this comes out, this show, you are going to be inducted to the Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
And people are like, "Are you going?" I'm like, "Well, I wasn't invited, first of all, and Ben doesn't like to see me in public with him." So, congratulations.
I'm afraid you might wear one of them T-shirts again with my face all over.
Yeah, that was a good T-shirt. We should auction that off. But anyway, so just like anything, subscribe, rate, and review. Going to have a great Patreon section with Sam after. We're going to talk about the ultimate golf trip and a couple of the back nine sections. So, this gentleman, I believe, was a professor.
Failed professor.
Okay. I think they all are failed professors. No offense. Sorry, my uncle Tony, who you personally know. This company started on your kitchen table in 1991. And what's funny is our guest this week, or last week, I guess, had a successful person on his futon. My question to you is, do you still have that kitchen table?
We do not.
Okay.
It went out in a home remodeling about 20 years ago. It probably wouldn't even be standing up today.
So we always have the longest introductions. I've called.
Say, are you gonna?
Yeah, I know.
Are we gonna let people know who do we have?
I know
today?
We got Sam Baker from Haversham and Baker. Hopefully I didn't butcher it. Was the North America's best golf tour operator in 2020, which is amazing. Because how did you have any tours in 2020?
You'd have to ask the people who voted on that what their basis was for voting on that.
So you guys specialize. You guys are kind of the country club golf travel company. You've sent a ton of people. You specialize in 4 countries: Scotland, Ireland, Britain, and Spain. How did this? How did this, you're sitting in your kitchen. I mean, unless your kitchen table's in the garage, which some places might have. How did you come to this concept?
By the traditional route, failing as a college professor of political science. I guess that's how everybody gets into golf tour business. The truth is, in university,
those are called politicians.
Yeah. The truth is, in university work, if you're not good at being a faculty member, and I certainly wasn't going to be, they make you an administrator. And over the course of 20 years of being an academic administrator and various promotions, I ended up in a position where at the University of Cincinnati, the alumni travel program reported to me. And so I called in the young man who ran the travel program and said, we need to add an alumni trip to Scotland as part of our alumni travel program. And he said, boy, Sam, I'm not sure that's going to sell. And I said, Leonard, it damn well better, because I'm going to run. And I did that for the last 3 years. I was vice president at the University of Cincinnati. And what I discovered was 2 things at the end of the 3rd trip. The first is I enjoyed organizing those trips, because I've always been a golf fan. more than anything I did in academic administration by a long shot. The second was the final stop on that that third trip was then the very remote Royal Dornoch in August of 1990. And I absolutely fell in love with the place. And I began to think about, on an academic salary, I couldn't afford to do it every year. Was there some way I could come up with it? And within 6 months, I'd resigned as a vice president and started what I thought was going to be this little company on my kitchen table, figuring I'll convince other people to pay me to go to Dornoch.
Yeah.
And the
Wow.
damn thing took off. I mean, it just didn't take off right away. That over the past 30 plus years, it's been amazing. You know, last year we were voted North America's best. 2 years before that, we were voted the world's best. So we've been, you know, pretty fortunate.
So how did you, what was the first couple of trips like after, you did the alumni trips? Now, did you rely on the alumni or did you
Look,
expand on
learned-
that, or how did that
learned
work?
An enormous amount then on those 3 trips by all the mistakes I made.
Right.
You know, you learn what works and doesn't work.
It's kind of like this podcast.
Right.
Well, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you know, the point of this is the first thing that hit me was discovering, and these trips were all 18 major donors to the University of Cincinnati, the president and me, all me. The first thing I discovered that came through in all 3 trips was that the guys were as excited about what we did off the fairway, the dinners, the renting kilts, the
Right.
going to the British Golf Museum, as they were what was occurring on the golf course. And at that time, nobody in the business was offering any advice at all on what we've come to call the good life. They just gave you hotel reservation, tea times, and the keys to a rental car. So our very first, I still remember our first year in business. It was 12 guys led by the editor of the Cincinnati Enquirer, all from the same country club, Coldstream here in town, and a couple who were members of the Cincinnati Country Club, and they were, so our total sales the first year were $72,000. And somebody said, "Oh, you mean your total profit?" I said, no. The first year was $72,000. And it's just slowly built up over time. The thing that's made more difference than any, and Luke alluded to it, is after a while, and I didn't realize this initially, this idea of focusing on so much more than just golf. We discovered that almost everybody that appeals to belongs to a country club, because one of the reasons to join a country club is for all the other things that surround golf.
Right.
And so over time, we began to realize that the best way for us to reach that market was through the guy who was standing behind the counter in the pro shop. And so now half of all of our business comes through PGA professionals.
Okay.
Incredibly supportive.
We should cut them out and be the middleman. You
So-
probably know some of them, as do I. I think we should take them down. Tell them there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah. So that when you went to the first trip, was it the same? Do you go the same course? Was it did multiple courses? Did you just do a couple days at the, would you say?
That's a great question. What we found out, Ben, over the years is most guys, when they go on that first golf trip across the pond, they want to tick as many boxes right courses as they can.
Right.
It's all about bragging rights.
Well, you also got to understand, when you're proposing it to your wife, it's a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But then, as my friend said to friends of ours, he's going on his third trip, and all you hear is the wife saying, "Oh yeah, it was a trip of a lifetime the first time. What about the other two?"
Yeah, my joke to people when they tell me it's a trip of a lifetime is this is going to be a lot like taking drugs when you say, "Oh, I'm only going to do this once."
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's kind of like marriage.
So what'll happen in our average trip, especially for first timers, for rookies, is that they will play in 7 days somewhere around 6 or 8 different courses. And rarely will they play the same course twice. There are some exceptions to that, which we recommend. At the top of that list is Royal County Down in Northern Ireland. And the reason we recommend people play that at least twice is it has 7 blind tee shots. So you really want to go around the second time when you have some idea what's over on the other side of that dude.
Right.
So you're saying don't play the old course 7 times?
Well, you'd have to have a real connection to play the old course multiple.
Right here. I got him right here. I'm going to milk him. It's the only reason we're doing this podcast. I'm just trying to milk him for all he's worth. So you've played Royal County Down, haven't you?
Yeah.
How many times have you played it?
Once.
Oh,
See,
Just
I got to
saying.
go back again,
Just
so
gotta
I know
see
where
it.
I'm going. Although that was about 15
Well, you're an
years
open
ago.
champion.
So
Ben, you're an open champion, and you won it. If I recall correctly, Royal St. George's only has 2 blind tee shots, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
basically, it's all right out there in front of you.
he wasn't paying attention.
There's a few. I'm trying to think. Like 4 depends on the wind. Like
No, I
if you're
was
hit
thinking about 4. Yeah.
4, 7. They kind of was hard to
Depends on
see.
where they put the tee.
9. You could see the green, but it was hard to see the fairway.
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of the holes were that way. The green was in the distance, but then, because they were sitting up a little bit, exposed a little bit more, and the fairways were down. Not every hole, obviously, but most of the holes.
Well, you guys had an advantage at Royal County Down, although at Royal St. George's, because it's when you played it, you've got all the stands up.
Right.
So you have something where your caddy can give you a line of where you're.
Right.
When those stands come down,
There's
playing
nothing.
that course is almost like playing the ocean. There's nothing out there in the horizon. And it's the only course I've ever played where I had a caddy give me a line off a cloud. Because this English
It's
guy
true.
keeps-
What happens if the dip? You know how many clouds they have in England?
well,
You got to hurry up because
I
the
mean,
wind blows them
that's
so
the
fast. You
problem.
better hit it quick, right?
My mom's from over there. I know how it works.
this English guy says he tries 3 or 4 things and I can't pick up the line. And he finally says, "Oh, do you see the cloud that looks rather like a camel?" I said, "A what? A camel? Oh, you mean a camel?" Yes. Get it off his arse.
How'd that go?
He hit him in the neck. Yeah.
Fortunately, that was back in my decent 4 or 5 handicap days, and Royal St. George's has always been a course that was good to me.
It's funny you're saying about the British and Irish caddies. It's funny. I don't know if you know this, but Ben's caddy was British, Andy,
Mhm.
and then your caddy after that is currently Brooks Koepka's caddy, who's Irish.
Mhm.
Any kind of things that they said that reflected what Sam was saying about his caddy at
Oh yeah. I mean, they all have that same humor.
like
right?
what? Give me one
Oh,
other than being naked. But
well, I mean, but it's true. Like I remember we played St. Andrews and Candace had one, and the same type of stuff. But they have all these sayings, and you're like, "What did he just say?" Like apples and pears, and you're like, "What's the hell does that mean?" Apples. That means go up the stairs. You
Yeah,
know,
you didn't know that?
Yeah, they'll say stuff like that all the time, and it's quite funny. But,
yeah,
and they like to give you shit too, right? I mean, they like to They like to give it to you a little bit, make fun of you, joke around with you.
Yeah.
But I like that. It's fun, right? You're supposed to be out there having a good time. You
Yeah,
can't,
we think people who play those courses and try to save 75 to $100 by not taking a caddy are missing an essential part of the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I think you would agree, Ben. Well, of course, you play with caddy all the time.
right.
But those characters are just worth every pound you pay them. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But why don't they have carts over there?
Well, the odd thing is, Luke, that they now have carts because they have in both Great Britain and Ireland implemented their equivalent of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So if you're disabled in some way,
What about overweight?
well, in my case, they don't let me have a cart anyway. But the reason golf over there is an exercise walking game. That's number one. And even when you take a buggy, as they call them, you really look down upon.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife Liz had her hip replaced, and within 6 months of that, she's playing in a buggy, and she's asking me, "Why don't you want to ride with me?" And we're at our home course at World Nordic, and I go, "Are you kidding? I'll take crap from these guys for months."
Is that your wife? I don't know who's that woman is. She's crazy.
I'm just walking behind,
Yeah.
Anyway, the other part is, and we know this from American courses, but their carts are particularly damaging to links golf. There are no cart paths.
Right.
And you start running a lot of buggies on a golf course, and all of a sudden it changes the course, and you just don't want that to happen.
And like if you played Royal Counted Down on a golf cart, Luke, you'd be dead because, right? I mean, there's no way you can get a cart around. I mean, there is, but I mean, to get it down the fairway and to where your ball is, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, oddly enough, then the rule they have at County Down is, if you qualify, you still have to pay for a caddy to drive the cart. The weird thing is, the almost bizarre thing is, you've got an Irish caddy who never drives a buggy, driving an American around and plays out of a cart all the time.
Right.
And the Irish guy is just as likely to roll the damn thing and kill you.
Good to know. But it's funny, but I'm seeing a lot more American courses, the newer courses, the Bandon Dunes, the Sand Valleys. I mean, it's kind of a same group, Mike Kaiser, the Stream Songs. A lot of them are walking. They're making it walking. I mean, Bandon, they might have one or two carts because of medical purposes, but like Stream Song for the prime season, it's all walking. There's no carts. Yeah. And
in my opinion, it's way more enjoyable that way because you get you're taking everything in. Sure. You can have conversations, as you know, like I'm sure a lot of your customers, right? They like to go. It's a great experience. You can talk to your caddy, you get to know them. They become friends. The next time you come back, you're asking for the same caddy. You build these relationships, and it's a lot of fun that way. Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, I'm sure you see that with all your reviews, right, from your customers.
Very, very much so. And as a matter of fact, I don't know about you guys. I seem to play, well, in my younger days, play better golf when I walk. Mm-hmm. Much better sense of rhythm, kind of keeping the swing together.
Right.
With jumping in and out of the car.
Yeah, I think sitting down, you get stiff, you get tight, right? When you're walking, you're always loose. Yeah. You don't have to stretch between shots.
I find when I walk, I eat less too.
Well, you don't have time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you're not thinking about it.
No.
So.
Not that I eat a ton.
You sit there and you got a
right.
buffet in front of you. You think
well,
about
no, not that. But it's funny because I went to Bandon for the first time in June. Have you been to Bandon Dunes?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I didn't want to insult you because you're, very much the other side of the pond. But the thing I took from that is I played 36 holes, I think 2 or 3 days in a row. And I was never really exhausted. I mean, I was tired, but I was never like, oh my God, because like you said, you're really enjoying it. You're seeing it. You've got some great caddies. You're with your buddies. do you see a lot of people that go across the pond, especially England, Ireland, and Scotland? Because I'm not too really familiar with Spanish golf. All that I know is Sergio Garcia and Seve Ballesteros and a couple of those other guys in Valderrama. They make good wine over there, actually. Do you see a lot of people doing 36 holes a day over there?
No, we don't. And in fact, we try to discourage it. And part of the reason for that is that we've always been of the belief you have to, most guys on buddy trips, especially those from the northern part of the country, are used to a buddy trip where before our season starts, we head south and we fly out on Thursday morning, 18 in the afternoon, 36, 18, fly home.
Sounds like my golf trip every year.
I mean, it's pretty
You've been talking to my wife.
But what we're trying to tell guys is this is a totally different experience. A, you're going to play a different kind of golf. But B, there's so much else to do other than play 36, go have a steak, go to bed, get up and do it all over again. So we don't encourage that. We do have a group that wants to play a little more golf, might have 36 holes in a day or in a week. And it's often back to Ben. I'm sorry, Ben didn't get to play RCD, Royal County Down twice, but it's often places like Royal County Down, or you go up the road to Royal Portrush, and they have not only the Dunluce course where the Open is played, but the Valley, which is right next door and really outstanding. So that makes for a good 36.
Well, Ricky, my caddy, grew and Graham McDowell grew up there, and they love the Valley more than
really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you played them both?
I have, and it is great. It's just it sits down. It's a little flatter, right? It's not as hard, obviously, but
Yeah, that's a good observation. It's almost all down below. When you're playing Calamity, you look down about 75 feet to the adjoining island or valley fairway. But anyway, yeah, one of my best caddies I've ever had in all my years overseas is the guy who taught me Dunluce and Valley. It's a guy named George McBride, who's a member of the Lemoore Golf Club, where I'm guessing your caddy is a member. And they're the ones who use the Valley as their primary course.
okay.
And George is one of these guys. By the fourth hole, he has you believing you're Arnold Thomas. I mean, the guy is the greatest. And his original occupation, he was the sous chef at the Ritz in London.
Oh.
And he came back to Portrush to teach in their hospitality school. And he just caddies on the side. And, you know, a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
He made you believe you're eating chicken, but it was actually cat.
Yeah.
One of those guys, huh?
Oh man, Luke. So Sam, so if one of our customers is interested, I mean, are they customers or
listeners?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Are yours, I mean, is it customizable, your trips? Are they, you know, do you have set packages? Let's say you want to go, you're going to Spain, right? Like Luke said, you want to go visit a winery. Do you set that kind of stuff up for the people that want to go?
If anybody in our company now were to try to sell a set package to somebody, we would can his butt that same day. We everything we do is done from scratch. It's all custom designed. And I can honestly say and most week-long arrangements, trips involve about 40 to 50 separate arrangements, from where you eat dinner, just all of that stuff. And in 31 years in business, I'm not aware we've ever done exactly the same trip twice. So what we start with is when somebody talks to us, we're trying to get a sense of what the group's like. And you know, I mentioned that the most common first-time group are people who are what we call trophy hunters.
Right.
And they only want to play big name courses. But there are people who come along who actually want to get off the beaten path. And what they want to do is go back to their home club and say, did you ever play the Ring of Kerry, Waterville? And people say, oh yeah, I love Waterville. And the guy looks and says, well, did you play Dukes?
Yeah.
What the hell is Dukes? Well, it's the home of a natterjack toad. It's this hideous thing with orange spots all over it. And oh, by the way, it's a Martin Hawtrey golf course. So there are people like that. So you know, you start there and then you begin to understand what the group is like. Our first rule in putting a group together is choose your traveling companions with more care than you choose your life companions. Nothing spoils a golf trip like a jerk. And it only takes one.
Yeah.
And the guy who's testy in the Saturday morning foursome, by the third day, you're going to want to choke him. You know, so
don't look at me. You're looking at me.
He's not coming
fun.
with me.
I'm a lot of fun. He doesn't take me anywhere.
We've got a guy at my club in Cincinnati who's killed, I know he's killed 7 different golf clubs. You know, where somebody, they have the usual 8, somebody didn't show up, and one of the guys says, well, let's ask, I'll make the name, Horatio.
What's his real name? What's his real name? Come on. No one listens to this.
They can't go the next year because they got to invite Horatio. So the group disbands.
Yeah.
Horatio. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Robert Keenan Winery, located in the historic Spring Mountain district of the Napa Valley. Celebrate the best round you ever had or get over your sorrows after the snowman on number 18. Drown yourself in one of the 14,000 cases per year they produce. Combining the dedication of experienced winemakers with a commitment to excellence, the Robert Keenan Winery has distinguished itself as a maker of exceptional wines in limited varietals and quantity. Wines for sipping, wines for enjoying, wines for enhancing any occasion. In the last 8 vintages, 42 wines have been rated between 90 and 97 points by Robert Parker Jr. As a special thank you, use code Clubs and Corks, all uppercase, and receive 20% off your next order with Keenan Winery. They're golfers just like me and me and me and me and you. Keenan Winery. We forgot to say brought to you by Keenan Winery. Well, I
brought to you by Keenan.
So, okay, so you don't want to bring Horatio, which I'm curious what his real name is.
No
Come
way.
on. We're on a first name basis. You can throw it out here.
My business has survived for 31 years. I don't have to crash it.
Yeah. Oh, he would crash it. He would crash it. So you know, my uncle Tony, or Tony Redwood, who I was recently out. He moved out to California with my aunt and or out there with my cousins, and he brought out a book and showed the photos and spoke very highly of you guys and stuff like that. And he's been 12 times, and hopefully it's been 12 times with you, but I don't know. So he was giving me some pretty good advice because I'm hoping to go over. Well, I'm not going next year because he's not going. And I wasn't going to play. I was just going to cheer you on and follow you. But I'm hoping to go the following year for my brother-in-law's 40th. And my wife says, yeah, he should go, but didn't say anything to me. So my plan is to go over there. How many people, if you're first time going to Scotland, how many people is sufficient? Is 4 good? Is 8 good? Is 16 good? AKA the cattle call. What is, and I know you do trips for everybody and customize for everything, but in your opinion, what is a good trip size really to go anywhere?
It's a great question. And the answer,
boom, good question.
in Great Britain and Ireland, the answer is 8. And it has several factors, but here's where it starts. And by the way, our most common group is 8 people, 4 couples or 8 guys, rarely 8 women, from the same club or the same area. The reason for the magic 8 is that with 8 people, you can hire one of our custom built coaches with a driver guide for a little more than it would cost you to drive yourself in 2 days.
Wow.
It's like a couple of $100 a person a week.
Wow.
And there's nothing better than being chauffeured around. You don't have to worry about that after round cocktail. You don't get lost. Our guy who's hosting you pulls up, the caddy master knows him. They know the whole drill. So you can do it with 12. 16 begins to be a little unmanageable just because, think about, guys, when you go out to dinner, we'd like a table of 16, please.
Yeah.
It doesn't work real well. But we have them, especially in our groups that are hosted by a club pro. And that's really because a lot of his members want to go with him.
Mhm. I don't know 15 people that like me, let alone 7. I mean, let's be honest.
Good comment, Horatio.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. I'm
Yeah, he's
fun.
sitting right here. You
No,
didn't-
no. Horatio is my stage name. So, okay. So you said 8 for Great Britain and Ireland. What about Scotland?
Oh, I'm sorry. Scotland is part of Great Britain.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just making sure. So would you say
Yeah,
8 for?
the answer is anywhere, even Spain, anywhere we go, it's really the magic 8 works best. And
So
we
that's
have
my
a lot-
question. So Mike, next question was, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
with Spain, is that a different crowd? Is that more, they want to go for the food, the wine,
The women.
the culture versus, obviously to go for the culture, same for the other ones, but it's a little bit different, right? They
a
speak
lot-
a different
yeah,
language, but
Language.
is the clientele different? Is it a different kind of trip? Is it more focused? I mean,
Well-
golf's a big part of it, I'm sure, but other parts too.
Well, first of all, it is more focused on what we call the good life, the life off the golf course. Much more likely to be focused. You just did a little piece on wine. Much more likely to be focused on those great Spanish wines. Although the best Spanish vineyards aren't in the Costa del Sol where the
No.
best golf is.
Rioja.
So you still, you're still
Rioja.
drinking a Rioja. And,
Yeah.
So yeah, the groups are different. They're more weighted toward couples. The second thing is Spanish golf, in the sense of what the golf courses look like, isn't inherently different than what we play here in the States.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. If Valderrama could be in California,
Right.
except for the cork trees maybe. But the point being, yeah, you are going more for culture. And whereas we have groups that go over and over and over again, and sometimes to the same areas for links golf or Heathland golf around London, we rarely have a repeat group to Spain. They've gone, they've seen it, you've played
Done it.
Valderrama, you've spent a half day at Gibraltar, you've gone across to North Africa, Tangiers on the ferry. Yeah, that's about it.
We should do that.
Yeah. I would love to go
Yeah,
to
me too.
Spain. Yeah.
Me too.
Have you now? So my next question: have you, you got the 4 countries there? Have you thought about expanding to other parts of the
You
world?
didn't read our page
We-
yet, so
We have looked at very extensively. I think that the golf product, the experience product in Australia is one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
Australia has 8 courses in the world's top 100.
Mhm.
You know-
Only
you should be honored. One of our guests actually built a couple of them. A previous guest, Tom Doak.
yes, and
Yep.
I was really pleased to hear Tom talk about his St. Andrews course, because I went down and didn't have time to play it when we were in Australia for about a month. Back to Ben's question, his Barnbrugel course is just outstanding. If you can get over tiger snakes. I asked the caddy when starting with, because that was the first course we played off the plane. I said, "Do you have poisonous snakes here?" "Oh, yes, mate." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "What should I do?" And he said, "Walk behind me." Okay.
Yep.
No,
Anyway.
put Horatio in front of you. That's where you take Horatio. He comes in real handy for the 8th. Horatio.
So you start though with only the US and Scotland have more courses in the world's top 100. 100 than in Australia.
That's crazy.
And they're all concentrated in the southeastern part of the country. So it's really, even though the continental Australia is the size of the continental 48 here in the States, this is like from New Orleans to Atlanta to Miami. I mean, that's kind of that area you're in. And beyond that, going back to what we were talking about with Spain, it is absolutely the best collection of great golf and great wineries in the world.
Yeah.
You could say France has better wine, but that the golf isn't nearly as good. And it's an outstanding experience. So we worked with Tourism Australia to try to promote their product. And the explanation we came up with of why it didn't work is called the tyranny of distance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth. Ben, have you been to Australia?
I have not, but I know the journey with friends, obviously, that played on tour and stuff. And
Yeah, it's
I mean,
brutal.
it's 34, 40 hours, depending on where you're at.
That's
Yeah,
why they live all
and-
over here.
Yeah.
The issue is we have surveyed thousands and thousands of country club members about their travel preference.
Right.
And the answer is only about 20 to 25% of them are willing to take a golf vacation that lasts more than 8 days.
Yeah.
Well, that
Interesting.
eliminates Australia and South Africa right there. Because they're
Basically
long
time
haul.
Yeah.
time you get there, you got 3 days, you got to fly
Play
back.
3
You've been
rounds and
gone
fly
8
back,
days.
yeah.
So it's a 2 or 3 week trip, and it's really sad. And so we don't even advertise that we do it, but we do 1 or 2 groups a year to Australia.
Okay. So
Interesting.
you do it. It's just obviously far
Just
less,
not
but-
featured. Same
Right.
thing in South Africa. It's
Right.
it's
So
a
what's
really good golf product.
the most bizarre thing you've ever had a customer ask that they wanted to do, or where they wanted to go? I mean, Iceland or Russia, things like that, or like
Canada.
skydiving and things like that. I mean, what's the craziest thing you've been asked from a customer?
I've never been asked that before. I'm kind of searching for.
No, wait till you hear the bonus content questions.
I'll tell you one of the strangest questions I ever had, which isn't directly related to what you're saying. I had a woman call me years ago, and she said, I've played golf in Scotland and Ireland and England, and I really liked it. I want to play golf in Wales. And I said, you mean Wales? And she said, yeah, Wales. With an H. And I kept trying to get her to understand that wasn't the name of the country. And I finally went, you know what? If you can't pronounce the name of the country, I don't think I'm going to turn you loose on the people of Wales.
Wales is gorgeous.
Yeah.
So,
It is.
It just rains every day.
well, that's whole of Europe. No offense.
No, but it really rains.
Yeah,
there.
it does. It's pretty though.
Yeah.
So 2 questions for you, since he's asking all the questions and I'm feeling alone here. First question is, how would you compare? Because I've heard this a couple of times. I've been to Scotland once or twice. I went to Bandon. I never need to go back to Scotland again.
I mean, if that's what people, if somebody's been there and they don't have a desire to go back, there's no talking them into it. But if somebody asked me about Scotland, in 1991, when I started the business, a Scottish golf tour consisted of Turnberry, Glen Eagles, and the Old Forsyth. And everybody thought if you did that, then you played Scotland. Well, the truth is right now, there's so much world-class golf in Scotland that you could go 4 weeks in a row, or 4 different weeks, we'll do it that way, play a different world-class course every day and never repeat a golf course. So there's 4 golf trips right there.
Right.
So
That's
in the old
amazing.
days, for instance, when I mentioned going to Dornick in 1990, because of the road system and all, it took you forever to get there. Well, now there's Dormant. There's Mark Parsonson's Castle Stewart, which is just down the road in there. There's a wonderful cluster there. You can spend the entire week. Aberdeen has become a really attractive destination even before Martin Hawtrey built the golf course there for Trump. And then keep in mind that Kings Barnes, the great course just outside of St. Andrews, is only 20 years old. And now this year they opened Dumbarton, which is open to rave reviews. So, it's up to somebody. If you do, I had a fellow, in fact, at a dinner party last night, he said, I can't stay and play golf in the wind and the rain. Tell me why I should go to Scotland. And I said, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
How do you think it would go if I told my wife that I'm going for 4 weeks on a Scottish golf trip?
You'll have the divorce papers on
Yeah.
before you get on the plane.
Yeah. She'd be like, you can go. We got to take the kids. Yeah. Okay. So my second question is, how far in advance, especially with everything going on in the world with this thing called COVID, which I might add, COVID does not happen at country clubs. So this should help your travel company. How far in advance should you be looking, or at least starting to get the process going, let alone booking?
The short answer to that is you should start planning 2023 right now. Because here's you were talking about skipping next year. And Luke, that's probably a good idea. Here's why. We didn't have anybody travel at all in 2020. So every group we had in 2020 postponed, and every group we had scheduled for this year before August postponed. So all of those people are going in 2022 or 2023.
Yikes.
In addition, all during the pandemic, we were selling trips, people still planning to go when the pandemic was over. The net result is that next year in 2022, we will have 50% more groups traveling than we did in 2019 before the pandemic. That was our biggest year. So it's, as they say over there, chocolate bar. And so 2023 is still going to have some spillover. So we've already sold all of our St. Andrews times for 2023.
For 2023?
Yes, sir. And
can you please go next year?
I'm
going to start begging you.
Open.
No, but you're going to be the British Open.
They're all sold out.
No, but we can play the day after.
Oh yeah.
Seriously? Come on, man. Just let's go. Let's go. Come on. You're breaking my heart. I'm not going to let my wife hear this because she's like, well, why would you go in 2023?
You were saying you wanted to go in 2023. And
well, you're breaking my heart. You're just like my family. So what about if I went
to go to Spain instead?
That's not a bad thing. What about in April of 2023? I'll play in all seasons. I'm built for all seasons being Canadian.
Another excellent question. The shoulder seasons, April and October, are without question the best times to go.
Yes.
Because it's the least crowded.
Yes.
The most crowded, no matter what the year is in the American travel window, which is essentially from Memorial Day through Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst month to go in terms of fighting crowds is August, because that's when every European takes their holiday.
Yes. Yep. Their siesta. They go to the beach.
Or they go play golf in Scotland or Ireland.
Yeah. So do you think it would be better to, last question, then we'll go to the bonus. Cause I could be here all day with you, picking your brain for free. First trip.
I didn't know this. This is,
yeah. Sorry. We'll send you your check. What just went off?
Okay.
There we go. What just happened?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Oh, it's not recording. You want to record that badly?
I think it said it's full.
Oh, okay. Well, so when is the, okay. So if it's your first trip over, would you go to Ireland or Scotland first?
Depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for the best golf, in the shortest amount of time, meaning the highest rated, and you want the most famous. Well, Scotland has 5 courses on the open rota. Ireland now has only 1.
Okay.
So if it's about playing a lot of famous golf and a lot of trophy golf in a short period of time, the answer to me has always been Scotland. And that is about 60% of our business, and about 30% is Ireland. But having said that, if you're with a bunch of guys who like to crank it up at night and want what the Irish call crack, that's the place to start, because the off-course experience in Ireland, both in terms of scenery and just overall, you walk into a pub in Ireland and in 15 minutes, you know everybody. If you walk into a pub in Wales, it's dead silence, and they don't say anything for you to leave. Scotland's somewhere in between.
Wow.
That's a great observation. I mean, you go to Ireland and you don't meet a stranger, do you?
No.
I mean, you walk in there. I remember going over the first time to Port Rush a week before the Open, and Ricky's dad and stuff. He's like, "Hey, come in and have a beer." And it was like one beer turned into 12, and 4 hours later.
Well, I used to love in the old days before European Union gave the Irish enough to finally get a good road system. The Irish have always measured everything. Well, for instance, how far is it from Shannon Airport to Dublin? Well, that would be a 3-pub drive.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
It's very true.
Ain't that the truth? Well, Sam, thanks for joining us. We're going to stick around. We're going to do a little Patreon site. We're going to pick his brain some more. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Right? Thumbs up?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Thank you to Keenan Winery, the official sponsor of the Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast.
Make sure you drink some.
Making sure you drink some. Pour yourself a miracle. Oh, no, that was the previous one. Sorry, my bad. Sam, thanks so much. Stick around, and we'll see you next week on the Clubs and Corks Golf Podcast.